All right, great. So then, and here is for David the link to the Nearpod in the chat. And I think, I don't know, I can't tell if more people are adding or not. Well, hello. So what I wanted to first clarify is what generative AI is, because we're really dealing with that kind of AI. Other types of AI have been around for many, many decades. And generative AI has been around for a long time too, but it's really just now being easily available to everyone. So generative AI means that the software can create an unlimited number of text replies, image replies, whatever replies. Whereas other types of non-generative AI are things like a loan application where it just checks this, and then it has two options, deny or approve. Whereas generative, it's creating an unlimited amount of stuff. Yes. Okay, so that's the kind of things that we're talking about today. All right, so again, another poll. What's your current plan for student use of generative AI for your courses? I would like to know where we are all. Okay. Well, if your option, your plan isn't listed, then I didn't think of it. You can choose the closest option. Yeah. Okay, but it looks like we have a pretty big variety. So some of you, totally not okay for students to use AI in their classes. Some permitting, but would prefer not to, encouraging, but would prefer not to. And then we have a handful discouraging and other types of in-betweens there. Okay, so we do have some people who are fine with it, more or less, and some who really do not want students to be using it at all. Okay. And we will definitely come up with plans for how to make this work for everyone. Okay, so let's just brainstorm so that we can kind of all get on the same page-ish. What do you know about AI? What have you heard about AI that you're not sure is true or not? Other things that you know about AI, your concerns maybe. What do we know? What have we heard, read, seen about AI? So you can talk, you can add text here, you can add images here, you can do all kinds of things here. Nearpod is a fun tool.
Rachel, could you share the Nearpod? Oh, there it is. Okay, I got kicked out. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yes, there it is. I put it back in the chat again, so we can all see everyone's contributions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Concerns over whether we can tell if AI is used. Mm-hmm. Okay. Prompt engineering, right? You have to know how to get the AI to give you what you want it to give you. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my response is in 3 posts.
That's okay. Add as many responses here as you would like. Because sometimes it doesn't load for me. Okay. So what we have is a lot of mixed messages here. Some things we're definitely going to be covering, and some things are, there's no one answer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Great. Yes, and I definitely want to, maybe not today, but in the future, be thinking about accessibility and how these tools can and can't work to help dyslexic students or others. Mm-hmm. Yeah, biases, that's an issue that we're going to be talking. So what is it actually doing? The text generators like ChatGPT, which is what most educators are concerned about, is a word calculator. What it's doing is it is taking, if I have this word or this phrase, what is the statistical likelihood that it is followed by this word or this phrase? It is literally doing math. And it is doing math in order to mimic human writing. So it will give you kind of the most common patterns of writing. Now, of course, ChatGPT, there's a lot more that's going under the hood, but that's really the basics. It is doing math, it is doing statistics about which words, which phrases tend to go together. That's what it's doing. With art generators, what it's doing is that a whole lot of workers have spent a lot of time going in and adding labels to images, labeling every time they see a hand, labeling every time they see an apple. And then, with this database of images and all these labels, then the software can combine things to match the prompt that it's been given. So that's really kind of the basic overview of how it works for those of us who aren't actually, software engineers. So it's important to keep in mind that a lot of labor goes into this. a lot of very underpaid, exploited workers often go into this. We do, disclaimer here, it's very possible and is happening to make AI in ethical ways, in ways that don't have these problems with biases. Lots of people are doing good AI systems. So what we have access to is mostly created by this company called OpenAI, which made ChatGPT and all these other tools, and Google, and a few other things. So it's these very huge, mega giant AI companies that are trying to make the biggest AI software possible, which bigger, there's no evidence that bigger is actually better. So that's one thing. But that's the basics of how this works. One thing to be really aware of here is that like 99% of what is out there being discussed with AI is very poorly informed and sometimes intentionally misleading. If somebody's job is to raise the stock prices of their AI company, they're probably not a reliable person to listen to in regards to what AI can do. And we're seeing this, you know, that CEOs of AI companies are saying things that are just blatantly untrue. Things like the AI is learning things it wasn't trained to do. It's thinking it's actually sentient, rather than just doing math. That it's, you know, going to fix climate change, that it's going to take over the world. All of these ideas that AI is capable of thinking, and that is going to become this godlike superhuman thing, is totally bogus. And there are reasons why the CEOs of this company are trying to spread that, to raise stock prices, to also, you know, get more people using the tools, and to distract away from who is responsible for the biases, the problems of AI. Because if you're saying, oh, the AI is doing this all on its own, then the politicians who are falling for this don't know to regulate the companies, whoever designing the softwares, profiting from the softwares. So this is something that we as educators need to be aware of, and that we need to make our students are aware of, that journalists are not experts in this. And so they're often, you know, parroting ideas that are not true at all. And there's just a ton out there that is very misleading. So one thing that I learned about a while ago that really changed my view of how I want to use AI is the climate impacts. So using ChatGPT for something takes 4 to 5 times as much electricity as doing a Google search. The AI systems work with these huge warehouses full of computers that use a ton of electricity, a ton of carbon, and a lot of clean drinking water to cool the computers. So that is something that I like to keep in mind when I'm deciding, is this a good use of AI for me, or would it be better, more responsible for me to not use AI in this instance? And we have to keep in mind too that who is being affected by this is very unequal, that it's, you know, English speakers who get to really benefit from a lot of these AI sources, but the places where the labor is being exploited, where the lithium mining is happening, where the big, huge climate impacts are happening, are often the poorer places, the exploited places. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing that we really need to make sure that all of us, students included, are aware of is confidentiality and privacy. I don't know if any of you have actually read the terms of service for any of these tools, but they keep whatever prompts you put in. So let's think of things, let's brainstorm. What kinds of things, what kinds of information, what kinds of prompts might I put into ChatGPT or an art generator or something that would be a really bad idea? That maybe I'm breaking the law, or maybe I could get in trouble, things that our students might add that would get them in trouble, other people in other jobs that might get them in trouble in various ways. So what kinds of privacy and confidentiality concerns can we think of? Toddler's going to nap. If sleep sack was in my office. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the one of, you're applying for jobs and that information kind of gets leaked to your employer. I hadn't thought about that one. Okay, so we've come up with quite a bit here. And this is something that I think most people don't tend to think about. I mean, I don't know about you, but my students often don't have all that much information literacy regarding internet privacy, and will, for instance, like put their whole birth date in like an online homework assignment and things like that, which you're not supposed to do because people can steal your identity. So I think that this is also something that is probably poorly understood by most people, and even us educators, right? Again, FERPA violations, if you have it generate a recommendation letter for a student and you put information about that student in, that's a FERPA violation. If you have it generate just a completely generic letter of recommendation and then you manually add information about that student, you're good. So these are things to keep in mind, that we don't want our students to go out into the workforce and immediately get fired for putting confidential information in these things. Awesome. All right, misinformation and bias. I think we could all probably come up with 1,000 examples from our own field about ChatGPT or these other tools just making stuff up. I don't know if did anybody see this with all of these, professors generated based on the discipline. And you may notice that this isn't all of them. There was a few more, but here's a sampling, that every single one was white except for ethnic studies. Everyone wears glasses except for anthropology. There's a clear gender division based on like STEM, those masculine fields, and the more feminine fields. And everyone has gray hair. So I guess if you have genetics that don't let you have gray hair until you're older, you're not qualified to be a professor. So I'm not qualified to be a professor yet. Maybe in 10 years I will be. So, it is replicating biases. One thing's that, like, if you ask it to generate doctors, you'll get a bunch of white men. If you ask it to generate Asian women, you get a lot of pornography. So this is not, the problems with AI aren't that it's going to take over the world. It's that it is reproducing harmful content and biases, stereotypes, and other types of harmful content. It's also making stuff up. And the problem here is that even if you aren't using AI is already contaminating Google and other websites. So our job as educators is now really going to be all about information literacy and making sure that students are verifying where the information came from, citing their sources. This is not just for information, but for images too. I don't know if any of you saw that baby peacock that was going around. That was clearly AI generated, but a lot of people thought it was a real baby peacock. But this is the kind of thing where people can easily get fooled now. I don't, maybe you also heard when there was like a fake video of the Pentagon exploded and very briefly the stock market tanked. This happened a few months ago. So there's a lot of problems here with misinformation, deep fakes. Information literacy is really going to be key for all of us. All right. So plagiarism is probably one of the biggest concerns for educators. So let's dump in here. What do we think? What are our concerns? What are our solutions? And I know those in music and art are often very concerned about copyright violations too. Mhm. And several of you said that you're forbidding the use of AI in your courses. Is this because of plagiarism concerns? Awesome. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's our next step. AI detection. You can't prove that somebody used AI for an assignment. Yes, I know there's all of these things out there on the internet saying, I created a software that will tell you if something's AI generated. Doesn't work. Sorry, doesn't work. They do not work. And according to the people who know how AI works, we probably won't be getting anything that works like that anytime soon, if ever. So no, you can't prove that a student's submission assignment was AI generated. You can have suspicions. I mean, there's definitely things that you can notice about it that are like, oh, that student totally used AI. But if you say, hey, student, you used AI, and they say, no, I didn't, you can't prove it. No way to prove it. So we need to be very careful about thinking about, okay, if we don't want our students to use AI and they do use AI, or we think they use AI, what do we do about it? Yes, Shauna, what's up?
Some things that I've heard regarding that have been, that when a student starts off the semester with things that they've written for assignments, and then suddenly the language, improves and everything about it, goes to a whole different level. You can't you can't just suddenly say to a student, yeah, you didn't do that. That was AI generated.
Mhm.
But I think that that's been a challenge. That's been a challenge, and I'm just curious what other people's thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can, sometimes it's really obvious. Sometimes they'll even forget to delete the part that says as an AI language learning model, right? That means that they used AI, but maybe they didn't completely copy and paste. I mean, you still can't prove that the whole thing is AI generated. You could prove that just that one phrase is AI generated. So that this is an issue that we need to be very careful about. That there isn't a clear way to detect AI, and a lot of the efforts to try to catch students using AI really are discriminating against neurodivergent students who communicate differently. I've seen a lot of this discussion among autistic people whose writing is being flagged as AI generated, and multilingual students. You know, if English is your second or third or fourth language, you know, your writing is often going to be mistaken as AI. And so we need to be really careful about this and try to make sure that our focus is on helping everyone learn rather than just trying to catch people, because trying to catch people is no fun for anyone, right? No fun for anyone. So this is something to keep in mind. And one thing I do want to point out is requiring in-class writing presents a lot of accessibility issues. That is a huge accessibility issue for a lot of people with certain various disabilities. So this is something that we need to be very conscientious about. Okay, so, but it's okay. Now actually, so we don't have a huge amount of time left, but okay, I think we have enough time for this. So I have here 2 of these boards, one for appropriate uses of AI and one for inappropriate uses of AI. You should now have the power to switch between the 2 slides. And I'm going to need somebody to remind me to turn that feature off, because I always forget to turn it off when I'm done having you have power. So let's brainstorm, let's make a list. What are appropriate uses of AI? What are inappropriate uses of AI? Hmm. Okay, we have a good list. I'm glad that we were able to, I know some people, think AI is super cool, some people hate it. And so I'm glad that we were able to come up with both appropriate uses and inappropriate uses because, and maybe the tools we don't have access to are the ones but hopefully in the future, I have hope for the future that we will have AI tools that are really good for increasing accessibility for disabled, neurodivergent, or other, multilingual students or whatever, and that this will really, really help. Yeah, plagiarism checkers aren't going to catch AI. Okay. Some of them claim they can, but it's totally bogus. Yes, okay, good. The problem though is that we need to understand that it is doing word calculations. It doesn't understand the words that you put in. It doesn't understand the words that it's putting out. So we always need to have a human there checking the content. If correct content is important, you need to make sure that you can check the content. Okay. Somebody put a question mark with replacing mental health chatline workers. So this happened a few months ago, that an eating disorder meant chat workers. So people who are suffering with eating disorders could call in and get help from workers, where the workers were all replaced by AI. And the AI, unsurprisingly, gave very, very, very bad, dangerous advice. So things like that, replacing therapists with AI is something that is not a good idea. No, very bad. So I want you to take a few minutes and to make a plan. Okay, so we know now that there's no way to prove something as AI. We can definitely have strong suspicions, but there's no way to prove something as AI. So if a student turns something in and it's got glaring issues, right, what are we going to do? What is our plan? Okay, so I'm going to open up some breakout rooms. You don't have to join them, but I want to create one for people who want to work on their own and don't want us bothering them. So if you are somebody who doesn't want, the sound of other people chatting, go and head out to a breakout room to be alone. Let participants choose room. There we go, create rooms. So if you want to be somewhere quiet, go head out to this breakout room. If you want us to talk together, because we're a small enough group, we can all just talk together and try to come up with plans, we can do it that way. Because I know there is a lot of concern of, okay, what do I do? What do I do? If students turn something in that is just really not good, what do we do? Okay. All right.
Do you want a reminder to turn your Nearpod permission off now?
Oh, yes, of course, that's what I need. See, I told you, I promised I was going to forget. Promised I was going to forget. Yes, so what will you do when students' assignment seems like it's AI generated, contains plagiarism, harmful stuff, factually incorrect, one or more of the above, right? We can use this time to create an outline of our plan. Maybe we want to create a syllabus statement. Maybe we want to add some kind of clarification to one of our assignments. So you can go do that on your own, or if you want to talk ideas over, you can do that here.
I would appreciate hearing others' suggestions.
Does anybody have a good plan that works for them?
No.
Well, I
But
do.
I find myself, I'm really going to land on how I structure the assignments. And of course, in my musical assignments, so far, I think I'm okay. But I also know how to structure those where that one. But I actually did have a situation of this in a summer class where, as an extra assignment, a student needed. I had put together from an old sheet I had just some general music history questions that I just needed. Long story, but bottom line is the answers I got back very quickly, particularly when they went further in depth than my question ever asked. I knew there was no way this was not AI generated. But I gotta be honest, my immediate response was, well, wait, what am I really doing here? I've created an assignment where it's just all Googleable information. How is this student really going to process and deal with this information the rest of their life? And the answer is they're going to Google it because they're not going to remember it, right? So it got me to rethinking the assignment altogether. That it's not just general questions that get at facts of music history. I need something that's much more, and I don't have the answer yet, but I've got to end with an assignment that's more, what is your personal reaction to this? What is your, and really having the student deal with the material in a way that asks them to identify their personal reflections, analysis, something that isn't AI generatable. And it suddenly hit me, if I get there, that's a better assignment anyway. That's what I should have been doing from the beginning. I think our math people have figured out somehow they can teach math, and there are calculators in the world. And we have got to figure out how to teach our disciplines. And yes, there's AI in the world. And the second they get out of our classroom, if they need the AI to do it, they're going to use it anyway. So what do we do in our classrooms that AI can't do?
Yeah, and my approach is revision. So that even if they did use AI, they're still going to have to revise and learn. And so I have Blackboard set up to have needs revision and complete. And if they didn't cite their sources, if the writing's really crappy, if there's any kinds of issues, they need to revise. And I have that built into the assignments. And so even if they're using AI, they're going to have to learn and practice writing and practice thinking.
So Rachel, I have a question about that. I love that as a former English teacher. But what if they refuse to revise?
Then it says needs revision and, for all eternity in the Blackboard.
And just there for everyone to see. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a
I haven't
couple.
had that be an issue.
Okay. I have one right now who I know would push back on that, and who has actually, unfortunately. So just curious how you had dealt with that in the past.
I mean, if they're not doing the work, then they're not going to get the grade, right?
Yeah, and trying to schedule time with them to meet with them, build that relationship, and all the things we always try to do with students. But yeah, and I think it would be regardless if there's AI involved or not. But I like the idea of revision a lot.
Right. It works really well. And I know that there were students that were using AI, but I really, really made sure that they were revising. And it worked. Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't think anybody actually left to be in. Okay. Yes, so this is one approach from the chat, that if you divide your assignment into multiple steps and it has to build on from previous steps, then yes, you can still use AI for that, but it'll require your own kind of voice, your own input, a lot of tinkering with that to get what you would want. So probably even if you are using AI, you're going to have to be doing a lot of the work yourself. Yeah. Okay, great. We are actually technically out of time, but what I wanted to do, I don't remember. Okay. we go. Maybe, does this work? Okay. So what are some things that we can do to make this less of a mess? Less of an ethical mess, okay? Because, you know, small actions can have an effect, right? Okay, thank you. Okay. Right, yeah, definitely. Okay. Right. And yeah, if you want to take off, that is fine. I'm not going to hold anybody hostage. But I hope that this was helpful and we can continue having these discussions in future sessions. If there's something in particular you really want to work on, let's do that. I'm already thinking about future sessions where we think about how to design assignments and assessments to work even if students are using AI. Okay, so that is definitely something that we can continue working on together. And now that I kind of have an idea of how much fits into 45 minutes, I'll be able to plan ahead a little bit better. We almost got through everything, almost.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you all for
Thanks a
showing
lot,
up.
Rachel.
Yeah, this is great, Rachel. Thank you.
Good,
Appreciate it.
wonderful. Hi, Vicki.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it was helpful.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Good starting places.
All right. Bye.
See ya.